Yo, what's up? How you guys doing? This your boy Mad Scientist. And all right, we got another week that's going to be in the books. Whew, talking about the loudness war in hip hop. Um, First, let me mention something really quick. I think it's kind of interesting that we are living in a time where not only did we have a black president, but we have a black pope. I know some of you guys are like, "What?" Yeah, yeah, it is true. You are living in a time of a black pope. How? How is he black? Doesn't look black. Yes, one of those secrets that we have as black people, that there are a lot of us that we look white, look really white, super white. And some of us know that we look white, but deep down inside, we are black. um, that's just something that people in the black community have known for like since the 1800s. So that's a lot of years. So anyway, that is not why you tuned in. That is not why you are here, right? You are not here for that reason. You are here because you want to just talk music. So let me go ahead and get into the intro. All right. Hey, what's up? This is DJ Mad Scientist on an all new Power 97.5 LA. And today we are just talking music, where we bring you vital information about music production, promotion, and I don't know, maybe one day distribution every week right here. We are on Power 975 LA radio app. Download the app from your favorite app store, whether it's Apple, Google, or Amazon, or you can go to the website, power975la.com. That's power975la.com. Now, as always, I like to tell everybody I am not only streaming here online. I'm also on the radio. I'm on the radio. Okay. And so I just give you that reference so you'll know, like if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll know why I'm over explaining what you see. And if you are on the radio, you'll understand why I'm talking about, hey, do you see this? You might be thinking, it's radio. I'm not looking at anything. Okay, I'm looking at my phone or I'm looking at a computer that has the app. But I do stream. For those who watch this on the radio or listen to this on the radio, you can also watch it live. And I try not to. I'm not actively working in a DAW, so it's not mandatory that you see what I'm putting on screen, but it would just give you a reference, when I am showing things on screen, which I will be doing today. Now, that said, let's talk about loudness. And I know this is part four, and I'm going to pretty much repeat some of the things I have been saying in the previous parts. Okay. But I'll say it differently, way more entertaining this time, right? All right. Essentially, for the most part, hip hop has not engaged in the loudness war. It did not. And the loudness war happened with electronic music primarily. Yeah, rock musicians said they could try to get louder too, but they weren't even close. It's like they were at high school level loudness. Whereas electronic music, they take it to levels that it's just crazy levels. Okay. Now, the thing is with hip hop, y- we're finding that hip hop is now being distributed, and when I say distributed, I don't mean for sale, but for exhibition, in larger arenas and stadiums. Like, for example, right now, Kendrick Lamar is on a stadium tour. Okay. Now, traditionally, hip hop was only heard in clubs, CDs, small venues, very small venues. So loudness was not a necessity. But now that you have hip hop being showcased, I should use that word instead of distributed, being showcased in larger venues, um, loudness is becoming a necessity, and we can't get around it. So, as people who are, in that do-it-yourself space, this is just something that you're going to have to become accustomed to, be aware of, because yes, while hip hop music is still being played in clubs, and I play in hip hop venues, I mean in clubs, um, it's hard to put music that is loud, that is not loud, up against music that is loud. And loudness is not measured in peak. So you can say, hey, you could turn it up. No, I cannot turn up loudness. Okay. I can turn up the peak, but I cannot turn up loudness. So let me, for those who peak versus loudness, I'm going to see if I can find something to show the people who are watching, maybe a graph or something. Well, first let's go into um, the definition, and I can go ahead and bring this in, share screen, and share this for those who are watching. Okay, so we're talking about definition. This is on Google, and for those who don't know, Google is not something that we would use to write a paper or write a dissertation or anything that we publish. We would not be using Google, but for the purpose of this exercise, we can go ahead and use Google. Okay. In audio, peak refers to the highest point a signal reaches, while loudness represents the overall perceived volume of the audio over time. Okay. So if you were to talk about peak, peak is, and we've seen this a lot, you'll see a peak meter and it'll go into the red. Okay, that meter that you were watching, and um, let me see if I could find it for those who are watching me on YouTube. You get that extra little, well, let's do this, and this will show you what loudness is. So we've all seen those meters that go up into the red, may start in green, then go yellow, then red. That's typically peak. Okay. Um, if you're not a music producer or if you don't have a DAW, then you've probably never seen a loudness meter. Okay. Loudness meter, they don't put those um, on like mixers, DJ mixers. They don't put them on, stereo systems. They don't put loudness meters on that type of equipment. What you are seeing are peak, and something can be peaky, but can be not loud. Okay. Now, for those who are watching on YouTube, this is a loudness meter, right? And loudness um, is measured like in negative numbers. So in peak, you'll be like at 0, +3, +6. Okay. Whereas in loudness, you're like in -14, -10, -9, -8, -7. Okay. And you're going to be measuring the integrated LUFS. So the reason why we're talking about loudness is because we're at that point now where, I get people that ask me, hey, can you play my music? And depending on where I'm at, like if it's in the weekend, the clubs, probably not. No, it's gonna be the answer. But let's say I'm at like Taco Tuesday or let's say this past Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. So someone was having a birthday party, and I was nice enough because the person who had the birthday party had a rap song out, you know, early 2000s. They had a rap song out, right? And so they were like, "Hey, can you play my song, so that we can all hear my song?" I said, "Okay, that's fine." It's Taco Tuesday and it's his birthday, so I'm not going to tell him no. I'm gonna say, "Yeah, let's come on, let's go ahead." So I pulled it up and I connected my phone to the mixer, and even though it was peaking at red, the song was very low, right? It was very low, extremely low. Okay. This wasn't loud. And he was like, "Hey, can you turn it up?" I said, "I'm already in the red, peaking. I can't." I knew what the issue was. He didn't know. But I was like, "This is as loud as I can go." And he just kind of figured, I think he kind of figured, well, it's just your phone. That's the problem. And I wasn't going to sit there and try to explain to him. I mean, he's having a birthday party, right? I'm not going to sit there and have some lecture for somebody who's celebrating a birthday party. No, you just haven't seen my videos on loudness. Okay. So therefore, music was low. And that's why I don't play people's music in a club when I got 3 to 500 people sitting there and they're expecting, hey, we want a professional exhibition of music. Yeah, I'm using that word again, exhibition. It's like I found a new word. Anyway, so I say that just to show you that this is the reason why you need to learn how to make louder music. Okay. Because right now in hip hop, the standard is -9. Okay. That's anyone that you've heard on the radio. And as a DJ, I'm able to download their music from a record pool, and that file that I download is going to be an MP3 file, 320 kilobytes per second. And the LUFS will be -9 LUFS at minimum. Okay, that's on average. Now there are some independent artists that sneak in, maybe their song gets really, really popular and their music is not as low, not as loud, or there are still some 90s and early 2000s songs that are not as loud. An example of I'm kind of surprised. An example of a current song that's not loud that I have to play all the time is Sweetie's My Type. That song is not loud. It's not loud at all, but people like it. And you may say, well, that's all that matters. People gotta like it. That's what used to happen. Okay. Um, yeah, like if you're Sweetie, that's my type, I have to play it. But if you are a new artist and you're trying to break your record, which is a good idea to go and talk to DJs. So that's a good idea. Okay. I'm all for it. And if you look at my previous videos, you'll see that I have advocated, and we'll talk about it again when we talk about promotion. I've advocated going to talk to DJs, not at the time of the club, but go talk to them. Hopefully, by the time you talk to them, you would have made sure that your music is loud. Okay. But yeah, if you go talk to a DJ, our biggest concern is going to be factors that have nothing to do whether we like your song. Has nothing to do with it. Okay. I could love the song, but still say I can't play it. I have no place to play this song. It doesn't fit into anything that I do during a club. Okay. So therefore, can't play it. Doesn't matter if I like it or not. I produce music that I love, but I never play at the club because it is hip hop, but it is a different type of hip hop. Okay. And even though it is my music, you would think I would still play it. No, it doesn't fit. Okay, it's not appropriate for that setting. Okay. Um, so yeah, loudness, when you take your music to a DJ, loudness is one of those things. Okay. Now, does loudness matter when it comes down to streaming? No, because they're going to normalize. Spotify and Apple are going to normalize the loudness to minus 14 no matter what. I submit my music loud and then they bring it down. Okay. Because they want everything consistently minus 14 loves. Will it matter on radio? No. Okay. You submit your music to our radio station. How loud it is will not matter. Okay. Because the compression and everything that goes on to get the music out to broadcast the music is going to, they're going to normalize the levels so that people they want to, the radio stations and Spotify and Apple and Pandora and all the cable stations that play music, they just want to make sure people don't have to go, turn it down, turn it up, turn it down, turn it up. So they like, once you set it, you forget it. You don't have to touch anymore. It's not like the old days where you had to always touch something because things change. No, you just set the playlist and then go. Let it go for hours. Okay. So loudness is not that important. Where you're going to find that loudness is important is in the venues, live venues. And if you want to get to the radio, you want to get to Spotify, if you want to get the Apple playlist, then you're going to have to start at the live venues. And that's going to require that you have loud music. Now, in the previous weeks, because this is a 4-week process, I've talked about other methods to make your music loud. These are not, oh, you can choose one method or two methods. No, this is all the methods. Okay. So the first method we talked about is using um, channel strips. And I talked about the fact that I use the SSL channel strip. Why? Because it adds saturation. And saturation is like hot sauce. You put it on everything. There's nothing you don't put hot sauce on. Okay. There is nothing. I mean, you put hot sauce on hot sauce. So, but we talked about using a channel strip. We talked about using compression and limiters in order to limit the dynamic range, right, of the material. You don't want things to be super loud, super. That's what takes out the peaks. Peaks are the enemy. And let me say it again, peaks are the enemy to loudness. Let me say it one more time. Peaks are the enemy to loudness. So, how do you get rid of the peaks? One way is compression and limiting. Then the next week, we talked about clipping and saturation again. Okay. Once again, saturation is the hot sauce. Clipping is just the protein, I guess, if I'm going to keep using a food analogy. Clipping is the protein. Clipping is the thing that will make your music loud. But you can't just go in there, clip, just like top off. No, you gotta everything has to be a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. So when you put a signal through a channel strip, it adds saturation. Okay. And then um compress, and then it takes down the peaks and shortens the dynamic range, making the material a little bit louder. Okay, a little bit louder. So everything adds a little bit of loudness, not volume, not peaks, loudness. Right, so just step by step. Okay, and then you add saturation, which will make it a little bit more louder. And then you add clipping, which will make it a little bit louder. And so then the final, I always call it a hamburger. The top of the bun is the channel strip. The bottom of the bun is the limiter, and the compressors and the saturation are in between. And depending on the material, like for your vocals, you may have two compressors. For musical material, you may have one compressor. For drums, you may have no compressors on the individual tracks. It just depends on the individual track and what kind of material you put on there. But all of those instruments are being used in order to make your material louder. Okay. Now, then why are we talking about kick drums? Well, now that I've taken you through the preamble part, let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is as producers, and let me be very clear when I say this, because I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I fundamentally don't believe that the famous producers that we tend to um, listen to, I don't believe that they sample their kicks. I could be wrong, but I'd be shocked. I think they know this. Now, is there some kind of conspiracy not to tell you? No, no. The reason why you don't know is because of hip hop culture. Hip hop culture says you sample. I mean, even Kanye West has said on his first album he sampled Dr. Dre's drums. So what we do in hip hop, we sample. Okay, we don't create, we sample. It is hip hop has for the most part been a sample based music genre. The only thing that is pretty much um original are the lyrics. Okay, and sometimes not the lyrics are original. So musically, we've always, kind of deferred to or depended on sample based drums. And so if you listen to a lot of the early hip hop, I mean in the 1900s, the late 90s, early 2000s, the music is just not loud. We like it, we love it because we're not expecting it to be loud. We're not like, oh my God, I'm not gonna like this song because I mean, there's so many hip hop songs that are not loud at all. And I know because I play them and they're not loud. Okay. I have brunch and play old hip hop songs. And the song that I'm thinking about is by Grand Puba. Um, but Mary J. Blige sampled it, All of My Love. People love Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige is coming back. Okay. I'm helping to bring her back. Mary J. Okay. And we recently found out her middle name is Jane. So Mary Jane Blige. I love Mary. Anyway, I love that song. People love that song, but it's not loud. And I could try to peak it as much as I can, but it's just not loud. Okay. And then the Grand Puba song, the original, I can't think of the name of it right now. I'm not going to look it up. It's even softer. So I love playing the song, but it's not loud at all. Okay. But we just kind of we love hip hop. So we kind of accept the fact that it's not loud. Okay. Loudness really didn't come like a thing until Little John. Little John's music is loud. Okay. It was loud back then and it's still loud. Okay. It still holds up, which is why we still play Little John. His music is loud. And if you ask me, you say, why was Little John music loud? Well, he was hanging out with them EDM guys. And he probably looked at what they were doing and said, I'm going to add that to my repertoire. I mean, he's still a DJ. Little John is still a DJ, and he uses and he's in that world, EDM. So I'm pretty sure that he learned a lot, okay, from a lot of the EDM producers. Now, let's talk about the EDM producers. They typically um, make everything from scratch. They are a they don't really sample. They are a sound design based genre, to their credit. Now, I will say this: EDM music started in the black neighborhoods, the gay black clubs, okay? But the European, DJs have taken house, EDM, and all the genres, and they have taken it and roll with it. And when they make their music, they typically are sound designing a lot. They design their sounds. They don't sample their sounds. Okay. I'm not saying they all design, but it is very normal for them to, sound design, just like it is very normal for us to sample. Now, is one better than the other? No, I'm not going to say that. Like, it's an art form, and art is subjective. We know that. So therefore, it's like, who's better than, who's better than the other one? It's what you like. I mean, people have tried to design sounds. I'll tell you in hip hop. Um, Swiss Beats, he designed a lot of his sounds. Okay. Um, Pharrell and the Neptunes, they designed a lot of their sounds. Um, there's been other producers who've used, sound design. Mad Scientist, I'm a producer. I design my sounds. Okay. And then there are EDM producers that sample. Okay, they probably sample. Okay, so I'm not saying that they do not under no circumstances. It's just majority. The good ones sound design. The ones that are okay, they will pretty much sample. Okay, so what I'm saying to you today, so that you understand this, and this is going to be very clear when I say this to you. In order to be considered a top hip hop DJ, you will have to learn how to sound design. And I'm making that very clear to you. The reason why is because you cannot get your music to be loud if you're not able to design your own sounds. Okay? You will not be able to get loud music if you're using sampled kicks. Now, there are some exceptions, and I will tell you the exceptions is trap, Southern trap. If you have some sampled 808s, you can. I've tried it. Okay. And I can get that loud. Okay. I can get loud. I can get up to -7 loves with a sampled 808 kick. Right. The only problem will be is that now you're loud and phasing. So all your phasing issues will become very apparent. And what phasing does, it will take your music like you will wobble. Okay. So as long as you're on that 1 808 key, you're fine. But the minute you start trying to change to a different note, that's when you start getting phase issues. Okay. Um, and that's when your music, that's where the Southern trap kicks will lose. Is on phasing, and if you have to slow down the 80 kick, it's just nasty, ugly, and it's like it's not a good kind of ugly. It's a negative, especially if you once you get louder, now you can hear all the imperfections, and we don't like to hear imperfections in bass. Okay, now don't argue with me about distortion. Distortion is not imperfection. Distortion is distortion. We're talking about imperfections in bass, phasing, weak bass signals, you know, low bit, you know, kicks. They just are not punchy. They don't sound good. So, what is going to be required that we do as hip hop producers now is we're going to have to start designing our own drums. Now, I do feel like, and I've said this and I'll say it again, I feel like the top producers probably already have someone designing their kicks for them. Okay. I've heard Boy Wonder say that he submitted beats to Drake, and then 40 will change the drums. So I'm thinking 40 has either himself or someone in his camp that's designing 808 kicks for him. Okay. Um, I feel like the production team for Drake is probably, I mean, not Drake, but Kendrick probably has someone in their camp that does sound design. Those guys are jazz guys. Okay. Jazz guys are the smart ones. I'm pretty sure, I'm confident I'd put $100 on it, my last 100, that somebody in that camp knows how to design kicks. Okay. So the top producers are going to have either themselves or someone designing their kicks. Why is it important for you as someone who may not be a top producer? Is because now that, if you're an artist, your methods of getting your music out to the public is going to start getting more and more limited. My prediction is that at some point in time, Spotify will say, you know what, we're not taking everybody in. You just can't upload your music into our platform. Okay. I think Apple may end up doing the same thing. Okay. And then if Apple does it, Spotify does it, Tidal will do the same thing. Already, TikTok is limiting what they bring in. Okay. So limiting who can put music on platforms will be a thing. So it'll come back in hip hop, back to where it all started with the DJ. You will have to go to the DJ in order to get your music heard. I predict that. I'm already seeing it happen, and I welcome it. My position is this: be prepared to have your music loud enough so that when I play it, it sounds competitive to everything else. Okay. It sounds loud just like everything else. Be prepared for that. That's my position on it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and talk about um, not how, because I don't do that on this channel. I don't tell you how to do anything, right? But I'm going to just introduce you to the concept of designing your own kicks. Now, there's a lot of different ways to design your own kick, and there is a method. There's not a, okay, just get this plug in and it helps design a kick, and then now the kick is there. No, it's a process. It's a production process. So you have to make the kick, and then you have to produce the kick or mix the kick. Okay. And I'm not going to go into the how. I'm introducing you to a concept that you need to be able to design and produce your own kick. Now, I'll tell you what I do in my kick, and you can try it. You can try my method, but you may decide, I want to try something different. Cool. As long as you understand the concept that I'm trying to convey to you, or transfer to you, or give to you, or teach you, which is you need to design your own kick. Bottom line, that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. Okay. So, that being said, let me go ahead and share with you what I use to design my kicks. And da 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 da. This is called Sonic Kick 3. Um, there, there's the Sonic Kick 2. This is the third version, Sonic Kick 3. Okay. Now, I am not, let me go ahead and give you this. I am not sponsored by Kick 3. I'm not getting paid to introduce to you this plugin, and I am not going to endorse it. There are many different plugins that will help you design your kick. I use this one because I think I want to say early 2016. I forgot when the first kick came out. I just thought it was cool and I got it and I've kind of kept going. But I didn't really understand the importance of designing kicks because what I did was what everybody else did. I sampled my kicks. I use sample kicks. And then once I got introduced to the concept of I need to get louder, um, I got to the point where now I understood why I couldn't get as loud as I wanted to because my kick was stopping my progress. And it took me a while to understand, why is my kick stopping my progress? And I realized as I got more aware of the producing of the kick and how kicks are produced, that the kicks I was sampling, and this is why you don't use sample kicks, were already um, were already um, distorted, clipped, and limited. They were already smashed. That's why they were sounding so loud, right? And because of that, because they were already distorted, clipped, limited, I could not do anything with it. I was stuck with that thing. And so if I needed the kick to be at a lower register, like 59 hertz, 60 hertz, but maybe it was at a higher, then I couldn't change that. Another issue that you come across is if you're trying to duck, if you're trying to do ducking, because you're trying to figure out how to make sure that the bass and the kick don't go out of phase. So you use ducking. The fact that the kick was already produced became a problem. When I tried to do phase manipulation, try to match the phase, couldn't do it because the kick in the was already produced. Okay. And so I had to then say, okay, I need a kick that does not have all that production, all that mix on there. And that took me to the point where I said, I need to make my own kicks. Okay. And now, as a result of me learning how to make my own kicks and my own eight, and another thing, when I would produce an 808, if I change the key of the original, then I could hear it. I can hear, you know, it was not as crisp. And I wish I could tell you all the reasons, and maybe someone listening would know all the reasons why the 808 was not crisp and clear. And I could take my productions to the club and I can hear all of the problems on the low end. I can then hear all the wobbling and the and the missing bass, and it's not so bassy, and I can hear all of that. And I knew that there was a problem. So it just got to the point where it took me about 6 months to just sit down and figure out how to design my own kick and my own 808. So I use this plugin. Now, this plugin is great because, and I'll tell you, because it actually gives you a lot of functionalities. The first two were just basic, but this one has key tracking. Okay, as you see right here, it says, and those who can't see this, on unfortunately on the radio you can't see, but I'll tell you, it has selective key tracking. Okay, um, it does have effects already on here, so you can produce the kick inside of the plugin, which is great because then you don't have to like use a bunch of plugins on your kick channel. Um, it has an EQ with spectral analysis. Okay, what does that mean? You can EQ, and it looks just like the Pro Q3, very similar to that. Okay, if you know what the Pro Q3 is, then okay, and it also has phase control. So if you're combining a clip, and I'm not going to go into what a clip is, but if you know anything about drum samples, the clip is like the little at the beginning of the kick, it makes it sound like a kick. But you can, make sure that clip, the click and the sub part of the kick is in phase, um, which is important because if your bass is out of phase, then it's not going to be um, the bass is not going to come through clear. It might be there, but it's going to be diminished, and you're going to hear it when you go to the larger clubs. Okay. Um, you can also add harmonics. What is harmonics? It's a very special word for saturation. And what do you put saturation on? Everything. Harmonics, saturation is like hot sauce. Okay. And you could select which ones you want to put on. Second order or um, third order harmonics. Okay. You have a lot of presets. So if you want to start with something, which is what I did, I start off with a preset and then you start to say, okay, well, what do I want to do? Okay, with this preset. Okay. And then you have a limiter. You also have you have saturation, you have clippers, all built in. So therefore, that's why I like this plugin because it's all in one and then it's visual at the same time. You can actually see what the kick should look like and you see what the waveform looks like, and you could make sure that the waveform is correct. Another thing that this one does, and you can import your favorite kick and then it will recreate the kick for you. Not that good. Okay. Not that good. It doesn't do a great job at it, but it can do it. And you might be like, hey, I actually like the way it's being done. I didn't. I know what a kick's supposed to look like, and um, I'm good with it. Okay. So I use the Kick 3. You could literally just get a synthesizer and create a kick. Okay. I will tell you this. Let me go back and let me get a good view for those who have me on YouTube so I can show you. Okay. Um, those who are on the radio, I'm going to try to describe what I'm pointing to the best way possible. A kick is a sine wave that is going through a different um different levels of hertz. Okay. So it essentially goes from, if you can imagine, a sound that goes from high to low. So the highest being about 1000 kilohertz down to 59 hertz. So it's like, ew, ew. That is essentially a kick, but it's going super fast. So is a okay. It's going so fast. That sounds weird on the radio, but it is going so fast, right? So typically a hip hop kick will will come in about 60 hertz, 59 to 60 hertz. Okay. And so if you're watching on YouTube, this is where it will end. This is the end part. This is the beginning part here. The click is the just imagine a kick is going like this from high to low, but super fast, not that slow. So it stops at 59 hertz. It starts between, I want to say, 700 hertz. It may be nine. I'd have to look at my kick. Okay. And that's how you get the at the top. Okay. So the reason why I mention that, if you do get this and you start learning how to create your own kicks, the magic sauce is, number one, you have to start at a high. Here's what I can do. I can find the hold for a second as I do this. Music theory, frequency chart. Okay. Ooh, not that one. Okay. Those who have me on the radio, just be patient with me. I'm trying to find a frequency chart that, yeah, frequency chart. Okay. Let me just type it in. Frequency chart. Okay. Image. Let me find one. Frequency chart. Uh, with notes. Notes. Okay. Uh, how does this one look? Okay, because 15. Okay, I can use this one. Okay, 59 is C. Okay, C is 65. I want to say G. G is 49 now. Okay, G sharp. Um, okay, let's just use the C because that's simple. Okay, now C is at 65 hertz. Okay, and so share this tab instead. So you see here, it says C2 is at 65.41 hertz. Okay, for those on the radio, you can't see the chart, but those on YouTube, you can. And so essentially, what the kick does is it goes from 65 hertz. I'm just using C, but it's usually around 59 to 60. But it goes from 65 hertz. No, I'm sorry. It ends at 65 hertz, but it starts at let's just say we're going to use this 1047 or 1047 kilohertz, which is C6. So it starts at C6 and it ends at C2, okay, in a curve over time. So it doesn't just go straight down like boom, boom, but it goes boom, boom, but really quick. And so coming back over here to the kick three, share this tab. This where it says D sharp 10, okay, you're typically, and you can see right here, it starts as D sharp 10 and it goes down to D1. So it starts at 10 and goes down to 1, okay? Over time, this kick is going from 10 to 1. Hip hop, pretty much going to go from D6 to D1, okay? D6 right here, D sharp 5 is like 617. So that's what hip hop does typically. Okay. So when you're making that, if you get this and you're like, okay, where do I start at and where does it end? It starts on the um, sixth octave and it ends on the first octave. Actually, the second octave. I'm sorry. It's not going to go down to it's not going to go down below because unless it's an 808, then the 808, yes, you can go down to the first. But if it's a kick, you're going to go down to the second octave. For 808, you're going to go down to the first octave. Okay. Um, that is the creating of it. In terms of production, um, after you get the kick shaped, you're going to have to saturate it. You're going to have to clip it multiple times. That means on the individual track, you're going to saturate it with a channel. You're going to clip it. You're not going to compress it. You don't have to compress it. Please don't compress your kick. I know there's going to be some people that say, yeah, you should. They mean like, real kicks, like an analog kick. But for electronic kicks, you don't need to, you really don't need to. It's unnecessary. Okay. Because compression is used to like make sure that the levels stay the same. And if you're electronic kick, your level is always going to stay the same. Okay. Um, Then you're going to saturate it with some type of saturation plug-in, whether it's tape, tube, or transistor. It's up to you. It just depends on the sound. The sound will sound differently. You pick the sound you want. We talked about that last week. When it comes to saturation, there is no standard. You must do it this way. Probably the only one that is like standardized is on vocals. You should use tube. But if you use transistor and it sounds good, use it. You just got to figure out what you like. Okay. Uh, I typically will use transistor. Okay. Odd order um, saturation on my drums, because essentially drums are just a lot of noise, especially snares. It's noise. So the more rugged you make that noise, the better. Okay. It just snaps. All right. Um, and then after you saturate it, you clip it, and you have to go in very small increments, because you don't want there to be too much that it starts to. And this is why I say don't get sample ones, because everybody's ear, or what you need that kick to do, or how you need to fit into your mix, is going to be totally different. You have to like gauge that. You have to hear it, engage it, and hear it, engage it, and switch. And then once you send your kick the to the uh to the group, you gotta like saturate it and clip it again. And then when you send it to that's in the drum. Well, I send mine actually to a kick group, and then I'll send it to the drum group, saturate it, clip it again. And then I'll send it to the drum and bass, saturate it, clip it again. Then it goes out to the pre-master and then the master. Okay. But I'm saturating, clipping the whole way through. Okay. Just a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. You do it all at one time. And that's why, in order for them to sell you that kick, to make you be like, oh man, it is hitting, they've got to saturate it multiple times. And at some point in time, you get to the point where you're past the sweet part, the sweet point, or the sweet spot. How are you going to find that sweet spot? By just learning how to create your own kick and do it yourself. Okay. And I have successfully done it. I have a project coming out. You'll hear the drums, and my music is loud. I can get up to -7. The only reason why is because I have one track that the only reason why I didn't go up to -7 on this project is because I have one track that is supposed to feel really like, like late 90s, early 2000 hip hop. And having it really loud would have changed the whole sound, the dynamic of the entire sound. So I made everything -9. But trust me, -9 is louder than that sound was in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were only Even Dre was only doing -4. Like, I get music from like Chronic 2000. I thought Chronic 2001 was going to be loud. It's only like -14 LUFS. It's not loud. It's louder than everyone else at that time, but it is not louder than the music that's coming out now. Okay. So, um, yeah, that's the whole key. That's the kick and caboodle. That's everything that you need to know. So if you want to hear me talk about loudness on the earlier during the earlier time, you can always go to my YouTube channel. Find me. I'm Mad Scientist, MADD Scientist. Find my YouTube channel and go back and listen to the other loudness videos. Okay. Um, and then you can end it with this one. And all I can say is good luck. I hope that you guys are able to take this information. And it's not a how to, but it is a why. Take this perspective and think about it. If you have further questions, you can always ask me. Don't be afraid to ask. I will answer. Okay. I may not answer right away, but eventually you'll get an answer. Okay. And or you can find me on Instagram, @ the mad science, @ Dumad Science, DAMADD Science. Find me there, and I will definitely answer those questions. Okay. But like I said, good luck. I appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget, I'm on the Midday Madness show every day, Monday through Friday, on Power 975 LA, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you haven't downloaded the app, you can go to Apple, you can go to Google, or you can go to Amazon, download the app. I don't do any talking about music industry. It's just pure music and hot takes and mini pods. Okay, and we're not talking about. Every now and then I'll come in if it's relevant and talk about music, but I pretty much keep the music industry stuff right here. So every Saturday, if you're listening on the radio, or every Friday, if you're watching me live, you can come and get this information from somebody who's actually working in the industry, not just making YouTube videos. Yeah, we'll talk about that one day. The difference between a lot of those how-to guys and someone who's actually working in the industry. I'm not saying that they're bad. I learn a lot from them. I'm just saying what they don't teach you is the why. They teach you the how, they don't teach you the why. What I teach you is the why. I just don't teach you the how. Because I'm not trying to do all that. It's like I gotta go DJ tonight. All right, y'all. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all next week. We're gonna start a new series. I'm trying to think like, should I stay in production or should I go into promotion? But you know what? Come check me out and you'll find out. I'll do another 4-part series. Okay. I appreciate you guys being here, and I will see you next week.